Thanks for doing this.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I feel for what you have been enduring and your family and everybody. It's really horrible. So, and at the same time, we all have admiration for what you guys are doing, and I think you're a great example for people that have strength. I mean, we've carried and received a lot of strength just by seeing how you guys have endured, and it's admirable. But we wish we could take the pain away from you. That's for sure.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, sure. And I think one of the things that I really would love to get from you today is really trying to get Lexi to know her even more. I've had a lot of people ask, what Lexi was like, and especially with the foundation, and people are really interested in hearing more, especially of all the good things that they've heard about Lexi. But just getting some time with you to get to know what she was like growing up, and some of your favorite memories, and that'll help us all too, because we all feel like we know her in many different ways, because we know, of course, I have a awesome relationship with you guys, but with Russ as well. And people look at Russ, and they see him carrying Lexi on, and I think this will be helpful for everybody to get to know her more.
I appreciate that. I always want to just keep everybody talking about her and thinking about her and keeping her memory alive.
Yeah, and that's what we will do. What
Thank
was
you.
she like? Yeah, what was she like growing up, Joni? What was she like as a kid?
Um, she was full of energy. She was really full of energy, just always happy-go-lucky. Um, you know, she was fun. She was so much fun. She loved animals, and she followed all the rules. She was the first person to follow every rule,
Hmm.
but she had a little mischief in her that, you know, going off course was just as much fun, and she thought everything was hysterical and great. And and she was just been compassionate since day one. She couldn't stand to see anybody sad or hurt or injured, or she always wanted everyone around her to be happy as well. She loved to dance and music and stuff like that.
Yeah. And how old was Lexi when Jake was born?
Two.
Too.
Two and a
And yeah, so was she aware of the difficulties that Jake had in the beginning with the heart and the surgeries, and how did Lexi respond to that?
She's always been so compassionate. So
Yeah.
for Lexi, everything was, she handles everybody delicately and carefully. But Russ and I just have personalities where at home we don't make a big deal out of anything. And
Hmm.
we tell them everything's fixable. And I think that's the hardest part with Lexi's death, is
Yeah.
that we have always told our kids, and we still do, everything's fixable. Don't worry about it. We can take care of anything. We can work hard on anything. And so, Lexi's death is that one thing we haven't been able to fix. But so when Jake was an infant, we never made a big deal out of it at home. I was, doing a lot of medical procedures for him at home. And I would drive to Columbia University Hospital every single day
Wow.
for 3 months, every single day. And it was just who we were. You just did what
Yeah.
you had to do to get by. And we just really believe in having a happy household, because the world is really challenging.
Yep.
So I think she almost just didn't know there was another way.
Interesting. Yeah. And so, so Lexi, as being the oldest, right? So you had four beautiful children, and how was she as the oldest sibling?
The best.
Yeah.
I know people say that those kinds of things are said about you after you pass away, but we said it about her when she was alive. We always said it about her. She just was the best older sibling.
Hmm.
She was not somebody who, liked to tease you and take your things away or be mean to you. She was the opposite. She was so helpful. Um, she was always helping the boys with their social media and doing TikToks with them and
Mm.
helping them navigate the computers and helping, with their clothing. She wanted to make sure Jake went to school looking like the other kids. And she was very, very, very funny. So they thought she was a riot. She was
Yeah.
sarcastic, which both Russ and I are. So they found her hysterical.
Mm.
Um, so she was great, and she was by far Jessica's best friend. So that has been very traumatic in the
Yeah.
house, is that I belong to a lot of organizations, and I'm at a lot of meetings all the time, and I coach a million things, and I serve on 3 different boards. And Lexi she never would say, "Oh my God, I'm going out with my friends. Why do I have to watch Jesse?" Never. She was always like, "No problem. Okay." And they would just bake and play beauty parlor. And I would come home and Jesse's hair is all curly and bows. And
Oh, it's so cute.
they've made brownies, and I would start dinner and leave, and she'd finish it. And she just was so great. She was what you would hope for.
Yeah.
She was, and so the kids loved her and they followed her lead, and it was fun.
Yeah.
It was
Uh,
fun.
and how old was Lexi when Jess was born?
9.
Yeah.
She was 9.
Yeah. And she's always taken to serve that additional mom role for her, right?
Yeah, and she loved it. She
Yeah.
really loved it. Lexi was very self-disciplined,
Right.
and so that was a great asset when
Mhm.
you have a sibling, a little sister who's all over the place. Lexi was
Yeah.
able to keep herself on a schedule, which really, it just kept things at an ease around here. She was
Yeah.
great. She was like a mother.
And how has Jess responded? I know that's got to be so hard as a, it's hard enough. You lose a sibling, and then you have somebody that was, they were so close too. How have you helped Jess along with this? That's got to be
It's
very difficult.
it's been so hard.
Yeah.
Um, I have to say, until the quarantine, Lexi's friends really jumped in with 2 feet. Our house was filled with teenagers every day. They wanted it. Jesse was so lonely, which was
Yeah.
the hardest part to watch. The loneliness was unbearable. So Lexi's friends would come every day, every single day, and they played board games with her because Lexi always did that. They would bake with her. Um, they would go on the trampoline with her. um, Jesse had a communion, and they showed up at the communion.
Mm.
Um, they helped get her ready in the morning because Lexi would have helped get her ready. They all waited for her on the first day of school, and really supportive. So I don't know if I did as much as Lexi's friends did. They all
Right.
made sure Jesse wasn't lonely. When Jesse had to get glasses, all her friends, Lexi's friends with glasses, came.
Oh,
They did a big
wow.
photo.
Oh my
Um,
God. How cool is that?
that was over the summer.
That's
And
so cool.
yeah, and I didn't even ask them. I just posted a photo of Jessie wearing her glasses for the first time, and they all showed up at my house with their glasses, and they took a big photo. And so they've done a lot of those types of things for her. They all celebrated her birthday, which was on Father's Day. So they left their fathers on Father's Day and spent it at our house so that Jessie's birthday was special.
Mm.
Um, so they've done everything that Lexi would do so that Jessie wouldn't be lonely. And so the quarantine's been hard in that way, but
Yeah. Yeah.
we do go hiking with some teenagers,
Oh,
girls.
that's good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's good that it's been reopened now.
Yeah. Well, both you and Russ are incredible people. And I think people have really responded in a huge way. Your community is unbelievable. I
They
mean,
are.
the way and the support that it's been so touching. I mean, really, and it's been continued. And I think, I think that gives us a lot of comfort too when seeing how others within your neighborhood and your town and your friends are so loyal. And I mean, look, I mean, I think it's a testament to the type of people you are. But it's been really nice to see that you've had these additional layers of support. Uh,
Thank you. The town is amazing. And our school district, our high school district is a tri-district. So it's
mhm.
three towns combined. And so it just is an overflow of love because we have three towns um, of people who knew and loved Lexi. And it's just been really touching, really heartwarming. I can't express our gratitude enough.
Yeah.
It's really been insane. And not to mention just more Sussex Sports, who that's endless amount of schools who still text me. And whenever we put Lexi apparel online, people from these other school districts in Morris and Sussex County are purchasing the shirts and sending their well wishes. And I don't know them. And I find that to be really, it gives you hope in society.
Yeah, definitely. And I agree. I mean, that has the outpouring, I think, of support and love. But I think, a lot of it is a testament again to who you guys are and to who Lexi was. I think that it's so rare. And I think when you hear of stories about Lexi, she was ahead of her time, like an older soul, just a compassionate person. And when so early on you saw that compassionate qualities in Lexi, huh? So that
Uh,
was something that just always was in her.
Absolutely. Lexi has a big heart for people who have special needs and a huge heart for animals. And it's been really from the beginning.
Yeah. and
Beginning.
I, and I know that she had a special relationship with Russ's brother, right, Uncle Greg.
Yes, absolutely. Yep. Lexi was his favorite person and vice versa.
Yeah. How's he doing? How is Uncle Greg doing?
He's doing okay. Every
Yeah.
time I talk to him, he mentions Lexi and how he misses her, and he breaks down because she always wanted to see him. She always wanted to bring him out to lunch. She always wanted to do special things with him. And when they were together, she would joke around with him and make him feel special and make him laugh, and always made him feel like $1,000,000. So he feels that loss as well.
And that's real interesting because I mean, and Greg I know has cerebral palsy, and and for a lot of children and a lot of teenagers, that's a tough thing to do. It's hard to know how to act with someone that is not like you, or is you sometimes feel awkward and had it. But apparently, from what I saw and what I hear, Lexi like jumped in with both feet. And again, that's just unusual. I mean, it's so unusual for a teenager to be that way, and how she would prioritize him. And I mean, that's just again another example of just this wonderful, loving, human being that embraced everyone.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And what are some of the like when you look back, Joni, when was there a time where you saw, of course, there's moments we have, with our kids where there's certain memories we have or certain places that come to mind pretty quickly about what represents them in a way that you thought, this is Lexi. This, like, you almost like admiring who she's with or what she's doing, and she's in her natural place. Where did you see her be her truest self?
Um, well, probably on vacation.
Yeah.
Lexi loved being at the beach with her family and friends. We do annual beach trips all the time with a ton of families. Specifically, the last full day after school would end every year, we would have about 15 families, and we would all go down to Seven Presidents Beach, and everybody followed her like the Pied Piper.
Mm,
All the little kids wanted to be with her. All the teenagers wanted let's take photos, let's do this, let's do that. she was so fun and easy. And you knew if you were going to approach her, she would never reject you.
Right.
So, she sort of was like, if you see in the movies, that girl that everybody wants to be, but they're afraid to approach, but nobody was afraid to approach her. They
Mm.
wanted to be her or be with her, but they knew they could go to her and they would never be embarrassed. They would never be humiliated, because that was one of Lexi's biggest fears. So she never wanted anyone else to feel that way. She
Right.
never wanted anyone else to be embarrassed or be humiliated or rejected. So when we would be in a big environment with all these people that she loved, she made sure they all felt like they were important, because to Lexi, everyone mattered.
Right.
And it's something we say at home all the time. We don't really tolerate siblings not really getting along in our house. We've never tolerated that. Everyone matters in our family, and we've
Mhm.
always said that. But Lexi really takes that to heart, and she always would say, everyone matters. And so, we would be having so much fun at the beach, and then other kids would come over because they want to have fun too, and she would always welcome everybody. Because other people would stand frozen, like, why are they over here? And Lexi would say, come on, what's your name? And she's not somebody to ever let anybody feel bad about themselves. So I think it was a big draw. So that's where I would say was her best self, because she knew she was surrounded by people that loved her.
Yeah.
And she always wanted to make sure she was making everybody else feel that. But also in school, she belonged to these clubs called like Best Buds, and groups that went down to the middle school, and they would do group activities with these middle schoolers who were struggling and didn't fit in. And she was by far one of their favorite people
Mm.
to do the activities with, because they knew she didn't judge them for what they looked like or who they were, or she just was somebody who made everybody feel like they were special.
Yeah. And I know that there were a number of people that she was in classes with, or in high school, some that were really down and out, that she went out of her way to get to know them, and helped pull some through some very difficult and challenging times. If you could share some of that with us too, that'd be helpful, because I know she made a huge difference. And some that they didn't know if they even wanted to carry on with their lives.
It's probably my most proud moment as a mom. And I don't even think it was anything you can teach somebody, just who she was. But yes, a young gentleman was in class with Lexi. He felt like he was a nobody, and he was very overweight. And Lexi would talk to him in class, and he would say he couldn't believe somebody like Lexi could talk to him. And he started exercising and losing weight. And one day Lexi said, are you losing weight? You look really good. And it just motivated him to take off from there. He said that, that week he had planned on going home, and he was dropping out of school, and he planned on going home and, maybe not moving forward in life.
Yeah.
And he said that comment, that she actually noticed him, because even though she would chat with him in class, you just feel like she's being polite. But
Yeah.
when she took notice in his weight loss and said, keep going, you look great. And then that year we went away for teacher convention week, and she was gone for school for a few days before the break. And he said he had missed her so much, and he couldn't wait for her to get back to see that he was getting more fit.
Mm.
And and he also had her, we have an ag department in our school district, and Lexi would help him with all his arrangements that you have to make an ag. And he just felt that he was living every day just to go to school and get her approval and get her. And then it turned into where it was more like he was just happy to he became, in his eyes, that was his friend.
Yeah.
And Lexi became his friend. And, and then somebody told me about a situation where they were walking down the hallway and they dropped their water bottle because they were holding all their books. And another kid kicked the water bottle all the way down the hallway. to humiliate this other child student. And Lexi went down the hallway, picked up the water bottle in front of everybody and brought it back and handed it to that student. And he just said to me at the viewing, she made me feel like I was a somebody. She made me feel that she was risking who she was to bring me back my water bottle, because he said the whole hallway stopped.
Right.
And somebody else told me that they were being bullied, and Lexi walked right between the two people, this one student and the person who was bullying them, and just walked right between them and said, "Hey, you forgot to answer my call. What are you doing?" And took the kid and walked away and just talked to them all the way down the hallway. She wasn't afraid to get involved. She just knew that she had enough confidence and enough friends that she could do that without getting any retribution. Because then people admired it. They weren't like, "Oh my God." They more like, "Oh, wow." She literally just walked between the two of them and started carrying on a conversation with the student and walked away with them so that they felt they were somebody.
That's awesome. And that's such a great example. 'Cause for that age, it's so hard to stick up, to put yourself out there, even though, you may know something's wrong, but acting upon it and sacrificing your own reputation for others is so hard to do, with the peer pressure. And so that's awesome that she was able to do that, because that's a rare thing.
And she never even came home. Lexi told me everything, and yet she never told me those things. And I think because for her, it was just an ease. That she just really did the right thing and never thought twice about it.
Right. Yeah, that was just part of her.
Right.
Yeah. What were some of the things that really bothered Lexi? What really frustrated her?
Oh, anybody who was mean.
Yeah.
She witnessed meanness, and it bothered her tremendously. She didn't like to be afraid. She didn't like to be scared. She didn't like to be around anyone who was mean. She tended to surround herself with the kids who were fun and outgoing, or even the quiet ones. She just didn't like anyone or anything that was mean.
Yeah. And what would she do when she was in those tough times, or when she was angry or sad? How did she deal with that? How did she find comfort?
We would sit in the car for hours and talk. I would pick her up from school, and we wouldn't get out of the car until it was time to get Jessie from her program.
Wow. So she would talk it out.
Absolutely. Yeah. And she would come home and just play with Jessica. I think that really gave her a lot of peace, that she would just have a little sister. She always wanted a sister, and to come home and have a sister to play with, I think she just loved it. But she was somebody who would talk it out for sure.
What are some of her favorite movies? What was her go-to when she was feeling down? What did she love?
Well, Lexi loves music so much, so she liked musicals. Mamma Mia was one of our favorites. We saw it on Broadway. We watched the movie a million times. She loved The Greatest Showman. Anything that was fun and exciting, and I think she just wanted to soak in the world. But music was huge to her, so those kinds of things. She still had a lot of child in her. She loved the Disney Channel. She just had a lot of. She didn't like the seriousness of the world, so I think she tended to like things that were fun, like Mamma Mia by far. The Greatest Showman was one of her favorites, things like that.
And what was some of her favorite music? Who was her favorite artists?
Oh, well, definitely Shawn Mendes. We saw him quite a bit. She met him several times. Camila Cabello, she saw a lot. We met her a lot. And then she did, like, of course, a lot of she liked Ariana Grande, of course. We were supposed to meet her a week after Lexi passed, so that was really difficult to swallow. But she liked the trendy music as well. She liked the rap songs that are popular and trendy right now that,
Right.
she had to listen with the earpiece in because Jesse was around. So, so she did like those things
The
as well, and she knew
for
all the
mature
words.
audience only.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. But she was amazingly musically inclined. She could dance anywhere and look amazing doing it, unlike me or her father. She just had it. So her grandmother was a rockette, so obviously it skipped a generation and went straight to Lexi.
That's right. That's right. The
Yeah,
rock. Yeah.
but it definitely skipped a generation.
What was her favorite song? Did she have a favorite?
She loved the Lost in Japan and Stitches. Those were two of her favorites. But she just had so many. Like it
Yeah.
depended on the artist,
Yeah.
But definitely Shawn Mendes music was always on wherever we were. So whenever a Shawn Mendes song comes on, it touches everybody.
Yeah.
So, but she just was always listening. But like any other teenager, she was always listening to music, and she knew every word.
Right. Right.
I know every other sentence. She knew every word.
It's always interesting with the teenagers how they know I'm the same. I may know like the chorus line or something like that, but
Right.
you'll know the whole song,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very. Where was Lexi's favorite place to be?
Home.
Home.
Home. She was definitely a homebody. The doorbell would ring and she's like, "Tell them I'm not here." She by far loved being home. Um, we always say when she was alive, we would always say we're so lucky that she's our firstborn. We
Yeah,
never had to be looking for her. We never had to be thinking something was being sneaky or hidden, or she wasn't going places without us knowing. Like, we were very lucky for her to ease us into the teenage years, because um, she never went anywhere she wasn't supposed to. And if she was going somewhere, she would text me the whole time.
yeah,
"Mom, this is what we're doing. This happened. It was so funny." Or she was definitely a good first teenager to go through the motions with, for sure.
yeah. I know this is difficult for you to do, and I appreciate what you're doing, Joni. And I know how close you were to Lexi. I know she was your best friend. So I think that makes this doubly hard. It's hard enough to lose a child, but she was your best friend, and I could only imagine how painful that is for you. How have you been able to carry on?
It's really difficult. You carry on because you have other children,
Yeah.
and the kids are traumatized enough. So we try to make sure our house is happy, and we joke around. And we, before the quarantine, we had everyone's friends over all the time. We tried to keep everything as much the same as we could.
Mm-hmm.
But you wash dishes and you cry, and you do laundry and you cry. And Jessica's room is right past Lexi's, so I pass it 100 times a day and I cry. And um, but it's so important for me that my kids are not re-traumatized day after day. They each are suffering for different reasons.
Yeah.
They all had a different type of relationship. It was really challenging for Jake to have to go to the high school every day,
Mm-hmm.
uh, because his sister was so well known and so well loved and so well liked. And Jake is extremely shy and quiet, and he
Mm-hmm.
has a great group of friends, but they're not always in your class. And he said he would walk down the hallway, and she was never embarrassed to have a sibling around. So she would be like, "Jake!" And then all the upperclassmen started to know him because Lexi was so proud that he was her brother. Um, so each child is suffering for a different reason. And so we try to make sure our house is happy. So if you walk in, you're greeted with a smile, and we bake and we cook, and we've been doing family dinner nights, and we try to keep everything normal as possible, but we suffer. Nighttime is horrendous. I don't sleep very much, and I know Russ doesn't sleep very much, because it's the time where you can just let it all out. And
Yeah.
and you go in her. We all go in her room all the time, and we sit on her bed and we talk to her, and it's so painful. it's a pain I don't wish upon anybody because it's cruel. It's inhumane.
Yeah, I know. I understand that.
So
And how can Joni, I think one of the tough things, and I think for others too, is, and I think you could be insightful here, and also with other people that unfortunately will be in your position or have been in your position. And how do you how would you like others to even be with you or your kids? Because I think that's always the challenging thing for people too, is to say, how do I approach you? And I feel awful. And what do I say? I want to say the right thing. And what sort of from your perspective, can help us that are wanting to do the right thing for you.
well, I think for everybody, grieving is so different. For me, Lexi's my favorite topic. She and I were literally glued at the hip. Even inside my own house, she was all over me all the time. So for me, I need to know that she mattered to people and that people remember her and have these things to say about her. And so for me, luckily around here, people have, until quarantine, people have not stopped coming to my house and everything. So I feel like everybody here knows that I love to talk about her,
Yeah.
but everyone grieves differently. And I don't know if that would be the same for other people. I like to see her picture everywhere. I love to hear memories. I love to hear stories people have of her, and people send me things, randomly, and it touches my heart. But other people may like to just put it in the background so that they could just put one foot in front of the other. But for me, it's different. For me, I love to hear the memories. I love to have her name brought up, and but definitely I would never want anyone to act awkward. I have a small town. Everybody knows Lexi was my daughter. I went to ShopRite. The first few months, you would hear people whispering, "That's Lexi Faye, the girl who died in the accident, that's her mom." That was really hard, because I would hear it a lot.
Yep.
And but I do love to talk about her. So for me, I just want people to act normal and be normal, but I do love to talk about her, so it's never something to shy away from.
Oh, that's great. That's very helpful. And how about we know Russ is a very quiet man, but he has this other side, that's for sure, that we know. How about Joni, for us with Russ too? What advice would you have?
Um, I think he's similar. Like,
Yeah.
I think he loves to know that she mattered, and he wants everyone to remember her because she just was. We're so proud of her.
Yeah.
We're so proud of who she was, and but I think he doesn't. I don't know. Only he knows. But
Yeah.
I do know that he loves to have her remembered as well. It's so important to us.
Yeah. And how could so with and we're so happy that you've set up, you have a couple of foundations, so maybe you could speak about the Heart of Gold Foundation, and then we'll talk about the Lexi Faye Everyone Matters Foundation. But you've done, like, your community has done some wonderful things, and I know you've had some things planned, I guess, that have gotten postponed. But what's the latest on some of the things people can do to keep Alexi's spirit alive?
Well, definitely buying any of the shirts and hoodies that we have.
Mm-hmm.
I find that anything where you can physically see her name is what means so much to us, because with things like t-shirts, hats, we have like 25 people that we know that have tattoos now with Lexi's name.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, but for us, we say, how many people have the same shirt in their drawer for, years? So, hey, they're wearing a Lexi shirt out, and somebody will say, who's that? And then a story, oh, this was a girl that I knew. And so I think things that have her, if people purchase the shirts, I have to say that before the quarantine, people would be in the airport and they would take a photo and send it to me. Oh my God, I'm in the Miami airport and somebody's wearing a Lexi Faye shirt.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm at the shore. Somebody's wearing a Lexi Faye. We received tons of those last year. People from all over. And so we love when there's any kind of apparel that has her name on it, because people will say, first of all, Lexi was a fashion girl by far.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
always looked like it looked so easy on her and so simple on her, but she chose everything with care.
Yeah.
And so, for us, apparel is huge for her, and anything that has her name, anything that will get people to ask a question, who was she? Anytime I see her name, it just melts my heart. So, I would say that once the quarantine's over and we're able to do the fundraisers that had to get put on the side because of the quarantine, we would love to still get support on those. But, purchasing the apparel, the merchandise, wearing it, donating to the foundation or the scholarship.
Right.
The great thing about the foundation and the scholarship is, for the scholarship, every single year in June, her name will be mentioned 5 times, because 2 for Newton and 1 for 3 other schools. So 5 times her name will be mentioned. And that means so much to me, that we know that her name will be mentioned and she will forever be a part of our, town that way. And the same thing with the foundation. For anything that the foundation donates money to, her name will be mentioned.
That's right.
And so I feel like every time her name is mentioned, it keeps her memory alive. And I think she gives people something to aspire to be, because in 17 years, hey, she was a great person, and we can all aspire to be as great as her. And so I think that's probably the best way to help our family and carry on her legacy.
That's right. And,
Is
you said it, Joni. I mean, that's what I think a lot of us have taken so much from this, is the impact that she had in such a short period of time. What a wonderful legacy. People could live 100 years and not come anywhere near having the impact that Lexi had, and making life better when she was here, but also inspiring us to do so now, as she looks down upon us. I mean, and we will do that. I mean, I think what you said before is something that we will do here too, is we absolutely will continue to carry on what she represented, and how most of us would want to live like that. And there's been so many times where she had this courage and had this bravery that a lot of us wish we had. And I think that's what made her so special. When I'm hearing some of these stories, is that she had this compassionate, wonderful inside, this bleeding heart, but at the same time had the strength and character to do and act upon things that she saw were wrong. Because I think a lot of us instinctually know, something's not right, but how many of us really act upon that? And I look back over my life and wish I had done certain things, or if I had seen somebody bullied or whatnot, and I regretted it and I felt humiliated. But she acted upon that. And when you hear of the people, or from those people, how she, inspired them to go on, and they're going to, remember that. Like, that's going to be a time in their life when they'll look back upon it and say, that gave me the strength. And in turn, hopefully they'll do the same. And so she's had this multiplying effect, which has been incredible. And I think you said it, when I was just blown away with how many schools got on board too, with the whiteouts and stuff like that. Because I know Lexi's favorite color was white, but just I think it has that because she was able to put together this combination that a lot of us find so hard. We do. We find things that, yes, we care about them, and yes, we see things that are wrong, but she had the courage um, to do it. And I think that's just such an awesome example for us, and how she looked at everyone with neutral eyes, you know?
No, I really agree, and I feel the same way. There's a lot of things that I wish I did as well. And I don't want to sugarcoat her life either, because she did have struggles. There were people who didn't treat her so kindly. And, sadly, upon her passing, I've received texts, phone calls, letters from people begging for forgiveness, that they feel guilty, that, that they were either jealous or or they themselves were struggling, and I've also read about those experiences in Lexi's online journal. And so, it's hard to swallow knowing that she had those experiences, but maybe those experiences formed who she was.
Yeah.
And she also had anxiety. So for Lexi to walk down a hallway and pick up that bottle, she had a level of confidence, but she was anxiety. She struggled with anxiety. So that's a huge step for her. So it
Yeah.
showed her character was so strong that someone else mattered more than her.
Yeah.
Her
That's
to do that.
right.
And when I go to her accident site every single day, and there's always letters. People write letters and they put them in a sandwich bag and they tape it to different things that we have at the site. And they're all stories of what she has done for them. And I was delivering a shirt. A young man had asked for his parents asked what he wanted for his birthday. And he said, I just want a Lexi Faye hoodie, because they're $50. So it's not,
Yeah.
it's expensive. So the father texted me and asked if I could bring it to his house, and he would meet me outside. And so I did, because he wanted to surprise his son. And he said, my son is this huge kid who barely acknowledges me. And on the day that Lexi died, he came running out of his room. He put his head in my lap and he just started screaming and crying. And he said, I didn't even know what was going on, but your daughter had touched him so much that he didn't even know. He ran to me, the one person who he doesn't barely even speak to. So this kid, this teenager who I barely know, but the father said the impact. He said, it's all his son is obsessed with. Why Lexi? Why Lexi? She was the nicest girl in school. Why Lexi? And so, those kinds of things just bring me a lot of comfort. But I also, she had a lot of anxiety. So to know that she would be able to push it down deep to do things for other people, that is really, the strength she had
Yeah.
to do that is amazing.
It is. Yeah. Especially, anxiety is so debilitating.
Mm-hmm.
To overcome that is, yeah, having that inner strength to, yeah, because that is a tough thing to deal with. How did did she have it more in her teenage years, Joni?
It started in second grade.
Okay.
Somebody was less than nice to her, and it just would play on her. But we just always would talk it out and talk it out. And there were a lot of scenarios. Lexi was extremely athletic, but
Mhm.
wouldn't go on a sports team after junior high school because she didn't want people looking at her. She didn't think she would be good enough. But um, so it's amazing how we all have these inner feelings that other people would never know, because you would never guess it about her. Only Russ and I knew about it, and her closest friends, because she knew how to just spread her wings and make sure that no one else felt that way. She always wanted everyone else to feel comfortable because she didn't feel comfortable.
Right.
So she would make sure everyone else around her felt great,
Right.
because inside she would be, struggling. She would get this, the nervousness like anybody else. So she liked to just blend in, but
Mhm.
yet she didn't realize she was too beautiful for that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
That was amazing. But yeah, that gentleman's story, I've heard from so many dads and moms that they never saw their child act the way they acted when they heard about Lexi.
Yeah.
So it was, and I felt I received a lot of that from teachers as well.
Yeah.
They all witnessed things about Lexi in a classroom and how she would help people, and she would help teachers who were struggling with somebody not listening in the classroom. She would go over to that. And Jessica's similar. Like, so Lexi would have a child in the classroom who couldn't sit still or was speaking out or being rude, and she would go over and whisper into the kid's ear, and it would just solve everything. It was amazing.
Yes.
Because she herself, to get up out of her chair, brings attention to herself. And yeah, because of the anxiety. So it took a lot. She cared more about the teacher than about getting up in class.
What a lesson.
The teachers always knew she had to sit in the back of the class because she didn't want people looking at her. So for her to get up and actually help the teacher with a student was amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, she was really, really great. So, and I think what I was thinking about your question earlier, and one of the things is you feel guilty when you're laughing or having a good time, but what I want people to know is even if we're laughing, in our heart, it hurts because we're thinking, Lexi would think this is funny. Like, you always have a simultaneous thought. So you might be joking around and having fun and laughing, and people are like, oh, they're doing great. But in reality, it's a simultaneous pain, because I used to tell Lexi, oh my God, you wouldn't believe what happened. This is hysterical. And she and I had a lot of the same humor. Right. And she had a mischievous side like her dad, so even though they're both so self-disciplined and they do the right thing, they both had a mischievous side. And, she joked around. So when I hear something funny and I'm laughing, or I'm, it's that simultaneous pain. And when I'm shopping to get things and people are like, oh, look at Mrs. Faye's out. Well, yeah, but everything I see reminds me of her. Yep. So it's that kind of thing. It's always living a parallel life of trying to move forward, but feeling her loss at the same time. And
yeah, you're carrying it always.
So it's a exhausting way to live.
Yeah.
So, and all the emails that come through my email, she was a big shopper, online shopper. So I get all these teenage stores constantly popping up into my feed, which is, and college admissions. She never knew that she did unbelievable on her SATs.
Oh, man.
Because the scores came the week after. And ACTs, she rocked her ACTs. And and the college admissions, like all the things that she had the ball rolling with. And she was practicing for her license, which was a couple of weeks later. She didn't get to fulfill that. So those kinds of things are extremely painful. Yeah, so the songs that come on the radio and different shows that come on, or when I'm going through my DVR and I see the shows that she saved, you try to move ahead, yet everything is so painful at the same time. The dinners, her favorite meals, you go to the grocery store and you're putting things in your cart, and then you remember that those things that you're buying, she's the only one who liked them. So then you sort of have to put it back, and that's really painful. She was, she couldn't drink milk, so you had to buy almond milk. And now, so I go to the store and I always go to reach for the almond milk, and Lexi and I had a thing that every single day I left something on her bed for her. So if I went to the grocery store, her favorite was Reese's peanut butter cups, and I would put them on her bed, or I would pick up a special chapstick. I never not put something on her bed for her.
Wow.
And she loved Christmas, so her dad went in and decorated her room for Christmas, and so that's still decorated. So, and he put an Easter tree in her room and Valentine. So those things are very painful.
Yeah.
So if people could only wish happiness, that would be the best. Yeah. So if everything's a reminder. Her favorite place besides home was the beach.
Right.
So, and her grandparents' house and Disney. So, and we're so grateful that we went on that family vacation just 1 week before she passed away. So, or 2 weeks. So, that's a great memory as
Yeah,
well.
I'm happy that you guys were able to do that.
Thank you. So, quarantine's been interesting because we are all together in the house all the time, and it's noticeable that she's missing even more so
Yeah.
because, we're doing these family dinners every night. Someone else is in charge, and she would have loved that, you know,
Hmm. Yeah.
that so we, you know, the kids, Russ would go on the trampoline with all the kids. She's not there, that kind of stuff. She's not here. We're all supposed to be in as a family, but the family's not all here. So that's, a big deal. And
Yeah.
all the college acceptances, everybody's getting accepted to college. They're posting it on social media.
I was, I was thinking about you guys, even with the graduation and everything else, that this is special times that you would be experiencing and not able to. And it's so unfair.
Right. I really feel it's unfair. We used to watch Say Yes to the Dress and talk about her when, the day that she would get married. So all those are very challenging. And um, but I just think it's important to keep her name going and her memory alive. And I'm so thankful to you and for WIS.
Yeah.
Russ updates me and keeps me in the loop about things that go on within your company. And I really appreciate it so much. It
Yeah.
means a lot more than you'll ever know. And, just as much as you guys learn about all the stuff my town does for us and for Lexi, we tell them what WIS is doing as well. And people are really touched and they're like, wow, we've never seen a company to support somebody so much. And, it was really challenging for Russ to take that drive back to work because Lexi at the old location, she used to go to work on Sundays during tax season. And so his office was loaded with things from her. And
Yeah.
so
Long.
that was really challenging.
Yeah.
So to have you guys as like a family, his work family, it made such a difference, where he could go and laugh and be himself as well. So that's really special that you guys care so much.
We do, and I appreciate that, and we love you guys, and we really wish we could take all the pain away, and just we will do our best to be there for you and with you, and we absolutely will continue to carry on the memory of Lexi and what she stood for and represented, and I think it's an inspiration. It has been an inspiration for us as well, and it's been she's given us the strength with also thinking about ways in which we can give back to the community, which is great. And right now the Lexi Faye Everyone Matters Foundation is contributing the personal protection equipment to different hospitals and helping get meals out to some of the homeless and the poor, and that's all on with memory of Lexi. So continue
Thank
to
you.
do those things. Yeah,
I
sure.
really appreciate that so much. It means so much.
Yeah. Well, Joni, thank you so much. Anything you want to leave us with, I really appreciate, and all of us do. And I know, as painful as it is for you, just you also are an inspiration to us. And just seeing how you're persevering and sacrificing and for your family and for others, and I want you to know that too. I have such a deep admiration for how you're doing this, and I wish you continued sort of strength, and finding when you can some peace. I know that's very difficult to do right now, but just know we're here too for you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I really appreciate the WIS family a lot. I really do. And I know Lexi knew and loved many of you, and I'm so thankful for that.
Thank you. All right, Joni. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Paul.
Love you.
I love you. Bye-bye.
Bye.